Hey guys, welcome to Tech Best. We're just doing a very quick video today. We're just doing a head-to-head with these three phones. Each of these phones is powered by a different flagship processor. So each one of these has a current top-of-the-range processor from the respective manufacturers. So starting on the left here, we have the Umidigi Z Pro, and that is powered by the Helio X27, made by Mediatek. In the middle here we have the Samsung Galaxy S8, and this is the Exynos 8895 powered version. Now if you get one from the States, it will be powered by the Snapdragon 835, but the rest of the world will get this version here. And on the right here we have the Xiaomi Mi6, and that is powered by the Snapdragon 835. So we're going to put these in a head-to-head and see how they fare. So I've already run a whole bunch of benchmarks, and we're just going to go straight into the results. Now the reason I've already run these benchmarks is because many of these can take 10 minutes or longer to run. So I've already run them, and we're just now going to go and have a look at the results. So starting off with Gfx Bench, which is testing the raw CPU performance. We can see here that the Exynos 8895 and the Snapdragon 835 scoring pretty much roughly around the same. Slight win here to the Exynos. So single core performance around the 2000 and multi-core performance around 6700. It's quite a bit better than the Helio X27. The results here are similar to what you would see on a Snapdragon 821 powered device. So not a bad score here, but definitely not as good as these two newer generation processors here. So the next test that we're going to get into is Antutu. Now I do know that Antutu has quite a few issues, and companies can cheat on this benchmark, but I still like to use it as it does still show a reasonably good indication of overall performance. Now this is not simply based on the processor performance, it also takes into consideration things like the RAM and other things like that. So starting off with the Z Pro, scoring just under 100,000 points, which is a very good score. The Samsung 175,000 points, and the Snapdragon 835 beating out the other two here, scoring just under 181,000. Now the big difference, now these two are fairly close, the big difference here in the performance, or in the score sorry, comes down to the 3D graphics performance. So the Helio X27's built-in graphics chip nowhere near as good as these other two phones here. So if you're into a lot of 3D gaming, if you can afford it, go for one of these. Obviously this chip is found in a lot more affordable phones. So going on to the next benchmark, we have a Gfx Bench, so let's load that one up. Now because the Samsung here has a different screen resolution to the other two phones, we're going to look at the off-screen performance. So looking at the car chase off-screen, we got 6.5 frames per second here on the Helio X27. The Samsung one we get 25 frames per second, and over here we get 26 frames per second on the Snapdragon. Looking at Manhattan off screen, we have 43 frames per second, 41 frames per second, and 11 frames per second. And then lastly, looking at the T-Rex off screen, 40 frames per second over here, 121 frames per second, and finally 119 frames per second. So these two phones definitely much more powerful when it comes to 3D graphics. This one here lagging significantly behind. Okay, and the last benchmark that I've run is PC Mark. Now this one here really does test these phones in situations that they wouldn't normally be used for. So it's testing them in things like photo editing and video editing. It also tests them on web browsing, so that is something that you would do regularly on these phones. But here, 4,700 points on the Helio X27 powered Umidigi Z Pro, 5,200 here, but then massively ahead is the Snapdragon 835 with 6,740 points. So anyway guys, that is a very quick comparison between these three phones. Now just take these with a grain of salt. Obviously this isn't intended to say that all phones are going to perform like this. It's just here to give you a ballpark indication of how these types of processors perform. Anyway guys, if you like this type of video, please drop a like, and take care. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.